Hi, my name is Ajay Nuka. I'm a professor in the Department of Hematology and Oncology at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm here at HEMO 2023 in Sao Paulo, and I'm glad to be here. There's a lot of advances that happen in myeloma, mostly in the immunotherapy space, which I'd like to brief you about what the updates are. So if you look in the last 3 years, we had a deluge of immunotherapies that were approved in the US and the European Union. So which include 2 targeted CAR T therapies targeting BCMA, ide-cel and cilta-cel, and we have 3 other approved two other approved BCMA targeted bispecific antibodies and 1 GPRC5D bispecific antibody. So for all the nuances that we know of from a CAR T perspective, these are not widely applicable to be used in every institution. So it needs an infrastructure. It needs education of the apheresis team, the stem cell processing, and more importantly, the slots need to be addressed from a CAR T perspective. So even though we have these availabilities, these are meant for certain institutions which have these capabilities. So which brings down to the other 3 immunotherapies that we have in myeloma. The 2 BCMA targeting bispecific antibodies. Number 1, teclistamab, which was approved based on the MajesTEC-1 study. Number 2, elranatamab, which is approved based on the MagnetisM-3 study. So I'll talk about the MajesTEC-1 study that led to the approval of teclistamab. There were 165 patients that were enrolled in this trial. The response rates were amazing. You were able to see 63% response rates in these patients. The schedule goes on with a priming dose of 0.01 milligram per kilogram. Again, it's a body weight based dosing, 0.01 kilograms. Then the priming dose 2 is 0.4 milligram per kilogram, and the target dose is 1.5 milligram per kilogram. So when these are approved based on a REMS program to minimize the risks, to improve the safety for the patients. The REMS program in the United States allows for a 48-hour observation after the priming dose 1, after the priming dose 2, and after the target dose 1, so which allows for a delivery of these drugs to the patients, and the rest of the dosing given weekly could be delivered at home, delivered as an outpatient. So now, how often does the patient need to receive these drugs? So it's given subcutaneously once weekly for 6 months, and if the patients achieve a CR, then the dosing could be changed to every other week. So what did we see with this kind of a schedule? We saw a response rate close to 63%, and this is amazing. These are patients who had seen 5 prior lines of therapy, close to 20% extramedullary disease, and these results are very applicable because this could be done in most institutions that can understand how to deliver the drug and how to manage the adverse events. So the adverse events of interest are 3. So the first one is a cytokine release syndrome, which can be seen in 70% of the patients, but 20% of the patients have a grade 2 that needs an intervention right away using an IL-6 antibody. ICANS, it is a neurotoxicity that can be seen with the cellular therapies. What I call with the bispecific antibodies is a mini CRS. It can be seen in a very small fraction of the patients, and there are no higher grade toxicities. The grade 3 toxicity that was seen is in 1 patient with the MajesTEC-1 study. Infections continue to be an issue. As the T cells are directed for myeloma cell kill, you're seeing significantly T cell deprived states where there's a lot of viral reactivations, and these needed to be monitored very, very closely, and appropriate prophylaxis needed to be given. We give the viral prophylaxis, we give the PJP prophylaxis, and viral monitoring almost on a weekly basis. And the time to incidence of any of these infections is very early, within the first 2 months. So using IVIG during this time period on a monthly basis probably will be able to help the patients. Now coming down to the second compound, which is elranatamab. Here the dosing is given on a flat dose. It is not a body weight dosing. The dosing is given at 12 milligram as priming dose. Second dose of priming dose 2 is 32 milligram, and the last target dose is 76 milligrams. So if you look at the target dose, so the REMS program here allows for the patient to be hospitalized for 48 hours after the first priming dose, 24 hours after the second priming dose, and the rest of the dosings could be given as an outpatient. With this specific schedule, in the heavily refractory patient population, so it's seen 5 median prior lines of therapy, including 30% of the extramedullary disease patients, you're able to see the response rates in the range of 60%. And these are impressive response rates in heavily refractory patient population. Again, coming back to the same side effects that we talked about, the special adverse events of interest. Number one, the CRS seen in 57% of the patients, majority again here are grade 1. And very rarely you can see a grade 2 toxicity, and IL-6 antibodies should be given for those grade 2 toxicities. Coming to the ICANS, the rate of the neurotoxicity with the cellular therapies is very, very limited with elranatamab. And looking at the other special adverse events of interest, the infections, again, these were seen in 66% altogether, and 35% are the ones that were a higher grade. Again, for the same reasons that I alluded to before, these could be, the infection risks could be mitigated by appropriately giving the IVIGs, appropriately using the GCSF to prevent the neutropenia, appropriately using the PJP prophylaxis, appropriately using the viral prophylaxis, antiviral prophylaxis, and potentially be able to minimize the toxicities and be able to deliver these drugs in a safer environment for the patients, which will help the patients ultimately.